these are some suggestions to help push your animation further. Even if you're not going to sharpen up your animation before the end of the semester, you can take some of these suggestions and push your work further before you put it into your reel to help you get a job. I'm going to break this down and give you some pointers on how to bring this up another level, and hopefully you find something useful from this. First off, the whale. It's simply moving straight across. You can add a lot more life to this, and I'm going to show you how. Secondly, I like the colors. You've got a beautiful palette, and there's a pretty nice amount of space here, and I like the fact that the sky is out of focus and further in the background. You could add even more space by putting things closer to the camera, like bouncing buoys in the water or some birds moving across in the background. That will add not only more depth, but some complexity to this animation as well. And also, if the whale had little sprays coming out of it periodically from time to time, that would look beautiful. And anything you add in, keep it unified to this world that you've created. Don't use real water drops in your particle system. You just use, simple colorful shapes like you've got here that would fit into your scene. Same with the buoy and the birds. I'm liking the depth you've got going on with the shadows, and let's get into some of those suggestions. You'll get a lot more life adding things like eye blinks and the tail and the particles. So what we can do, you've already got your artwork done. So like I said, these are ways of just building upon and improving it. It's already there, you're already done. This is just going that extra mile, and trust me, it's well worth it when you're in the job market. Puppet pinning is the way I would go with this, just because it's a little bit faster. And remember, it's not just pinning what you want to move, it's pinning what you don't want to move. So I'm gonna put one at the front of the whale and the middle of the whale. My puppet pin tool is right up here, and I had the layer I wanted to puppet pin selected. Now I want you to see something. I put one at each flipper, okay? And where the tail will meet here and there. Oops, let me undo those pin moves. Okay, so this is your resting character right here. And remember, with puppet pinning, you've put down the pins you want to move and what you don't want to move. Then you just move your playhead. So I'm going to go forward a second, and you can move more than one pin at a time. I'm holding down shift to select these. I've got my puppet pin tool selected. I'm going to bring that tail down a little bit. And I can even have the head move down a little bit, like it's bobbing up and down the water. Oops, that's what happens when you're using a trackpad. And I could go forward a little bit, and I can bring these back up. And also, I'm going to hold down shift to deselect the pins. So now I can select a single pin, move it out a little bit, get a little bit of that tail spread. And let's bring this up a little bit, and let's have the head come up a little bit. Okay? And we'll review. I'm going to hit the U key so you can see my keyframes. And that's all my puppet pinning. I'm going to drop my resolution down so we can preview it faster. See, just those small little head nods help give some life too. I'm actually going to bring that head up a little bit higher. Let's have the body come down a little bit. So the middle's going down, head's coming up a little bit. There we go. And here's the tail at the middle section. I'm going to hit my previous and next. I'm going to my next keyframe. Let's have the body come up a little bit as the tail is going down. So we've got the tail going down. I'm going to make sure I'm on my right keyframe. I want to be on the middle keyframe here. There we go. And I'm going to spread these flippers out a little bit. You're probably not going to see that under the water, but even if you do, it's worth the risk. Okay? So let's loop that and see what that looks like. I moved my render bar. That's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. That was just some little pushes. If this flipper were on another layer, you could move it as well. Let's see what happens if we add some pins to this flipper, if we can move that. Now, see, that's moving the whole body. So I'm going to undo those pins. That's another consideration. If you wanted and you didn't want to put the time into it, you could redraw that shape in After Effects and bring it in here, and then just put a solid shape over it. So this is pretty good just for this example. I'm showing you how to puppet pin that. Now let's see what happens if I've got my keyframes down for my pins. Let's see if I can put the expression loop out ping pong. What that's going to do is it's going to go from the first to the last, then backwards again. So you've got a continuous loop. So I'm going to click here. I held down Alt or Option. Remember, you must hold down Alt or Option. And I'll do loop out. Double click to get that expression. In the empty field, I'll put ping pong. So that's what your expression looks like. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and paste it into all the other pins. And remember, you got to click out of your expression field so that you don't accidentally hit any spaces or anything like that. Because if there's any errors in your expression, it will not work. And you can see what happened here is there's no keyframes on that pin to add it to. So I'm going to just ignore that. Hold down Alt or Option, paste it into here. That's what happens when you rush through, but you know, like I said, it was quick and easy to recover from, and you learned a little something from it. You need at least keyframes for this expression to work. I'm going to spread this out. Your render area. I'm going to hit the U key to close my keyframes. And let's see what happens. So now you've got some looping life brought to that whale, and it's already coming along a little bit smoother. Now, I'm going to hit save. I can add my particles inside here because you've got some headroom going on. And that's good because I don't want them going up too high. Otherwise, I'd have to track the particles and have them move with the whale. So I can do all that in here. Plus the eye blinks I can do as well. So if I make a solid, okay, and I'll make it the color of the whale. Click my eyedropper, there's my whale. No stroke and a solid, good. So I'm gonna make here, here, there, and there. That's my eyelid. Okay, that's the top eyelid. And then the bottom eyelid, I'll go here, there, there. Doesn't need to be perfect, especially for this tutorial. I've got 2 eyelids. And so we can see what's going on here, I'm going to make them red. Just so they stand out, I can focus on the animation, then I'll color them later, okay? It's just a way of saving yourself some time and some headache. Top one green, the bottom one red, all right? So let's tackle these eye blinks. I'm going to increase my resolution so that I'm pretty accurate with what's going on here. And I'm going to go to my pen tool. I'm holding down Shift and clicking on the middle eyelid point, and I'm just making these line up a little bit better, like that, okay? Just these little bit of, let's say, attention to detail. So, we're going to animate an eye blink real quick. I'm going to twirl down my contents until I get to the path, and remember to animate a path or shape, just click on the path stopwatch. Now, the eye blinks should be pretty quick. It should only be a couple of frames. So let's say, let's do 6 frames, and then if it's too slow, I can always move them closer together. I'm going to add one here, and then I'm going to go forward another 6, and add. So I've got 3 similar keyframes, okay? It's going to be closed, open, closed. So all I have to do is go to my middle, and I held down Shift to get that one point. Now you don't have a full eye, so I only have to go past that eye, like that. There's my keyframes. And what I'm going to do once I've got these animated, I'm going to parent it along to the whale, or we're not even parent it, I'm just going to make sure that they move along with it. So there's my bottom and the top. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to line up my keyframes so that they both move together. There we go, I hit the first keyframe. I'm going to hit my next keyframe right there with that arrow. Add another keyframe and go to the next one, and then add another keyframe. So it's going to line up. And remember, the middle is the open. So I hold down Shift, I click that middle eye, and I move it up. And I'm going to move these out of the way. Like that. I don't want that getting too distorted in the shape there. And what I can do for this middle one on the bottom, right there, I can have that come down a little bit on the edges So it's going to be a more natural shape, like that. All right, I'm happy with that. So that's our blink, okay? Hit U. And I'm going to select both my layers. Hit P for position. And click the stopwatch so it animates both of them at the same time. So if I go to my next puppet pinpoint, I can just center these on where the eye moved to. Like that. Now I've got the blink plus following the motion of the whale. So I go to my next keyframe. One more. Should be right there. Now I've still got my positions selected. Like such. Okay. And I'm going to hit U to hide those keyframes for that layer. Okay, now I'm going to select my layers and hit U. Now that it's moving with it, I've got to fix my open so that it is fully opening past the eye. Now let's check it out. There we go. I'm liking that. So I'm just going to colorize the eyelids. I've got the blink. Remember, I just drew the lids closed and I simply animated the open position. So it's going to go open, close, and then it's going to loop, and then I'm going to draw them open and have them stay with the whale. So I'm going to undo those color changes. I should have drawn open and then closed, but I'm just going to stick with this and go to open one more time. So I'm copying the middle one, pasting it right there. Okay, good. And what I'm going to do is this one, I'm going to open it just a little bit more. And I'm going to keep those eyes, make sure they stay open. Okay. And that's good. All right, now I can colorize them because they're staying open the whole time. And you'll see, since I've got this staying open and just blinking, what I have to do is, this is 1 second 20. That should be the end of the loop. And I'm going to hold down Alt and click the bracket next to the letter P and hit the U key to hide my keyframes. Okay, so there they are open. And I'm going to pre-compose this. I'll call this blink. And I've got it right there. And I'm going to trim it so I know where it ends. Now I can duplicate this pre-comp and then move it to wherever I want. So this is where the head starts, right there. That looks about right. So I'm going to hold down Shift and slide my layer so it snaps. Now it's following it. I use the eyebrow. See the eyebrows right there? There's the eyebrow again. That's where I knew how to line it up. So I'm going to duplicate it again. There's the eyebrow right there. I'm going to hold down Shift, snap to where the playhead is. See? It's just a little fix finding things to line up your animation with. Right there. I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate again, hold down Shift, drag it to there. And that should take us back to the beginning. Alright, so now we've got, let me zoom out. Now we have the tail flapping, the body moving, the head nodding, and the whale blinking. That's the way we got it to work. Lastly, I'm going to look at your main composition. We want a color for the spray that I think this color will be good because it'll help stand out from the clouds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a shape. Remember, if you have something selected, it's going to become a mask. I don't want a mask, so I had to deselect. There's the color I want. We're close enough to it. I'm going to copy this, paste it into the whale layer. Now let's do the particle system. And I think the fastest, easiest particle, so I'll make a new layer. So I want layer, new solid, I'll do particles. Yeah, it's the size of your composition. Color, we'll make it black. Okay, hit alright. And we could always change the color of the particles later on if they're not popping out or sitting in the scene right. Particle playground. Watch what happens. The default looks almost exactly like what we want anyway. I'll drop down my resolution. See what I mean? That doesn't say, whale spout. I don't know what does. Remember, if you've got your crosshair, you can just click it once and then move it to where you want it. Like that, rather than doing the math. So it's where it needs to be. Here's the color. Color's the color I want. I can now hide that shape layer. And let's take a look at our particles. Like that. All right, let's go into 100%. Go to full resolution. Save. All right, radius. How tight or wide they're gonna be. Particles per second. Let's drop that down so that there's less. Direction, so that's where you could, let's have it go a little bit, just a little bit past it, because that's the direction he's moving. All right, good. To make this move up and down. Yeah, we'll do that because you want the spout to be going consistently. All right, let's take a look at this. I'll increase the random. The velocity, I'm going to increase it so it flies a little bit higher up off of him. And that's how thick the particles are. All right, good. Happy with that. Let's try that gravity a little bit less, so it's not falling as far. Here we go. Fun. And we're going to want this to be a from time to time thing. All right. So I'm going to click my crosshairs. Go here, and I'm going to keyframe the position and the particles per second because we're going to want them to die and then come back. I'm going to go to my next puppet pin right there. And I'm going to click my crosshairs. I'll go one more, click my next there, click the crosshairs, put it right there. Okay. And let's try 0. So we went and did, this is the position, 3 keyframes to match my loop. And the particles per second is going 18 to 0. All right, let's take a look at that. All right. Let's see what happens if we go a little bit more. All right, then they go away for a little bit. And I'm going to do one more. So I'm just going to grab all these keyframes, paste them here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to change my crosshair. It'll be there. Move to the next one. Move it there. And up. I'm just keeping it near where that head is. And another thing I'm going to have to do right before this, I'm going to add a particles per second, drop it down to 0, so that there's no particles from here to there. And then it sprays again, because I went 0, then 32. And I'll go a little bit further, like that, yeah. And then copy this again, because remember, 0, 0. That's going to keep no particles being born throughout. Now I just have to line up where these are. So I'm just going to put it there. Go to my next keyframe. Move it up a little bit. And go to the last keyframe. Move it down a little bit. Let's zoom out. See what we've got. And there you have it. Already more life and interest than the whale just moving across the screen. And again, I said, if this flipper were on its own layer, you could have it swing from a hinge right there, just rotating back and forth, and then you're really going to have a pretty nice whale. So that's some ways of improving upon your whale animation. Now let's see how it looks in the scene. There's our particles. Let's zoom in. Okay. That's sitting all right in the scene. It's got some color. It's not distracting me too much. And actually you can see the whale tail here. So let's go back here. Let's actually make the particle size a touch bigger. Right here, particle radius. Let's try 3. 4. Let's see what 4 looks like. Because I know the whale shrunk down a little bit in the scene. There you go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's try one more thing. What would happen if we put a motion blur on that? Just to, keep pushing it, help it have a little bit more natural motion. And let's actually put some motion blur on the whale as well. Go here and let's see what that looks like. One more thing to point out, I like the spout, what he's spouting out here, being the color of the water, because that's what it's exhaling, the water coming out. So it makes sense there. And then, like I said, doing a buoy, I'm going to just draw a shape here, and I'm going to make it red. Dark red. Buoys are not dark red, but I'm just doing this fast so that you can see. So we'll pretend this is your buoy, okay? You're going to put the anchor point at the bottom middle, because that's where it meets the water. So we'll put it right down there, bottom middle. I used my pan behind tool. Remember, where the anchor point is will influence the animation, all right? So I can then do P for position, and I'm going to throw a wiggle on this. So I'm going to go wiggle, double click to fill it out. Now times per second, let's try 1 and then comma. So it's 1 time a second. Let's try 25. And then I click out of my expression, and we've got a little bit of subtle bobbing to that buoy, okay? That's one part of it. Now let's copy this. Let's go, I'm going to hit R for rotation, hold down Alt or Option. Remember, when you click on your stopwatch to add the expression, you got to hold down Alt or Option. I'm pasting the same expression into it. Now I've got a little bit of wiggle on the rotation. Let's do 7, because that's a bit extreme. And I'm going to hit solo here to view it faster. See? Look at that. That's got some interest. Now pretending that is the buoy that you draw, and I animated that with just 2 different expressions. Well, I mean the same expression just applied to the position, then the rotation. Just a simple wiggle, and you've got that little bit of life. And then to add a little bit more depth, I'm gonna make sure nothing's selected. We're probably gonna need 4 points. End of the wing meets the body. Let's do 1 for the body, wing, and then the tip of the wing, all right? I'm gonna get rid of my fill. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. And I'm gonna go to the stroke, give it a solid fill. You can make the bird whatever color you want, as long as it sits in the scene, And all we're gonna do simply for this is we're gonna animate the path. So I'm gonna click on my path right here, and that's the resting position. I can move forward however I want. I'm gonna hold down Shift to select one wing point, flap it up. Let's have those wings tilt up a little bit. Oops. Let's try my arrow now that I've got it selected. I'm just doing this real quick to give you an idea for the wing flap. And let's go back to here. So, yep, that would be like that. Let's move that more like that. And it flaps up. So I've got that. That's the up and the down. Up, down, up and down. The amount of frames you went to go down. That's down. So there's your loop. Then move the playhead to where you want it to go again. Copy and paste. Up and down again. And you just do the same thing. Move the playhead, paste. And that's a quick bird that you could have sitting in your scene. You could also have some fish jumping out in between the waves. That would help add more depth and interest. So that's just a couple things showing you where you can work off of what you have and push this idea a lot further. Pretty nice, like your color palette, but like I said, these simple little adjustments, especially with the whale. I mean, the whale is the hero of the story, it's the character right there. And just those blinks are enough to add some life. And remember, the whale won't just glide across the water. It's going to be bobbing and swaying up and down like I did with these looping puppet pins. And the particles also help add a little bit of life, and using the color from the scene will help it sit in it as well. But very nice, and I hope you take some of these suggestions and try and push your work a little bit further. And like I said, this is not me criticizing you as a person, it's me helping you grow as an artist and giving you ways to grow and push your work. So that's all it is. That's my job as an instructor, is to help keep pushing your work and help you get to that point where you can be more successful in the job market when you're done your schooling. So great job, and I hope you found this helpful. Now let's take a look at your next animation.